I followed a line through war-torn streets, through fire and hollowed buildings, as it gathered orphans to its humble bleed, and they ran with their tears still spilling, and they ran as the mortars rained from the sky, and the smoke rose in blackened pillars. And we ran through rubble and we ran through rain. We were looking for the crystal city. We went looking for the crystal city.
And welcome back. Road to Release. I must say, last month actually been a bit of a grind. Been a bit frustrating actually. I think when I started this project, I kind of knew that I would only have a few hours each week on the weekend usually to work on the project. That was fine. I could live with that. I could work with that. But expectations, I think, in my mind were that when I did have my time to work on this project, I would be coming to each session kind of fully pumped, motivated, primed, inspired, creative kind of energy, juices flowing everywhere, ready to go. And so I'd sit down to my session and I'd be like, okay, hit me. Let's do it. And so what would happen is that, I'd come to this time and I think I'd just often be feeling quite tired. I mean, I'd have a big week leading up to it or whatever. I'd just be feeling really flat in the time that I have to work on this thing that I really am passionate about. And so what that would do is that it would kind of just make me feel like, because I'm not inspired now, that I'm never inspired and nothing is inspired. And I kind of have this attitude creep in where instead of seeing potential, I would see problems, and that would start to become my outlook. And, everything would be tainted by it until that kind of negativity just starts to seep into the entire process. And so that can be really hard because you just start feeling rubbish about everything.
Why do I even bother?
And listen back to your ideas and they sound rubbish as well. And you listen to other people for inspiration and all you kind of see is that they sound so much better than you. Their recording is better. Musicianship is better and their arrangements and their songs are better. And so all of a sudden everything just becomes overwhelming and you just feel rubbish about all of it. So what I really feel like I need to do this week is just to kind of give myself some reminders, and for anyone else out there who's kind of going through a similar thing and often kind of just sees your own stuff and thinks how rubbish it is, for how to push through these times when you feel rubbish about your creative process and your art, and basically you just want to jump in the bin. Inspiration. She's a fleeting, elusive, unpredictable beast of a mistress.
Should I make that for one, sir?
If she asks you out for a date, she'll almost certainly stand you up. So, my first piece of advice to myself, my first reminder, is that don't feel like you can only work when you're inspired. Now, this is actually contrary to advice I've been given in the past and that I've seen, in which people say, only work when you're feeling in the mood, only work when you're feeling inspired, strike while the iron's hot, etc., etc., etc. The thing I've just found that can't be true. I mean, if I only have this certain time in the week when I can work on this project, that time very rarely meets with the times when I'm actually feeling inspired. They avoid each other. But there are moments in the week when I do feel inspired. They just don't kind of happen when I want them to. And these moments, which I will be calling butterflies of inspiration, they actually tend to hit me at completely random. And very inconvenient times. Most commonly at about 2:30 in the morning. Or when I'm sitting on the toilet.
Yeah, who is it? Hey, what are you doing? What the butterfly of inspiration now?
And these are times when I can't actually use these butterflies of inspirations at all. So I can't control when they pop up. But what I can do is actually learn how to capture the little buggers. And then release them into the project in a controlled time, in my time when I actually do have to work on this project. And so, the way I do this is just usually through recording little voice memos, writing down little notes of lyrical ideas or whatever it might be. So get into the practice of actually compiling them and then using those moments of inspiration to actually reignite the creative process during the time when you're feeling uninspired, but you do have to work on the project. And often those will actually fan into flame that creative process once again and kind of kickstart things and get things moving. But if it doesn't, then you also have to realize that the creative process is probably, only about 1 tiny % of these actually moments of inspiration anyway. And the rest of it is just like full on blood, sweat and tears and hard work and discipline and learning the tools of your craft. And you have to treat your songwriting and your musicianship as like a craft that you have to hone and you have to work on, and not something just completely fueled by this kind of creative energy all the time. And so, get in there and get stuck in, and don't be afraid to actually get in when you're not feeling inspired and still work on the craft of creating music. Songwriting, recording, lyric writing, playing your instrument, musicianship. These are all things that you can work on, when you're actually not feeling particularly inspired or creative, and they will still help to move the process forward. My second piece of advice to myself is just to find some people who will call a turd a turd. What do you think of this? That's poo. Oh. Okay. And by this, I mean you have a lot of material. It's hundreds of songs that you've written. It's only a very small percentage of those which are actually any good. And you're probably not always the best person to try and discern between, the gold nuggets and the turd nuggets. And so having some other people who will actually be really honest with you is going to be very helpful in this process. We tend to, as artists, kind of be very protective about our ideas and our songs. These are kind of parts of our soul that we're exposing to people. Just kind of, here, have a look at my heart. But people who kind of just tell you that everything is awesome are lying to you. Who think that everything you do is amazing. They're not telling you the truth. And they're pretty much just facilitating you releasing turds into the world. And so that's not a good thing to do. So you want people who are actually going to tell you when something sucks, and then, not see that as a personal attack on your art and yourself and your person. So what do you reckon?
Kinda sucks.
You suck! But to actually go, okay, that's a helpful thing. You actually saved me a whole bunch of effort and time wasted on this kind of trying to polish a turd. I've actually had this experience in the last month where I've been trying to do this whole thing by myself. I've had a couple of songs that I've kind of been listening to over and over, and I kind of knew from the outset, I had this inkling that they probably weren't good, but I also felt like I needed to give them a chance. I needed to give them, an opportunity to become something.
Yeah. No, come on. There's still good in you. I know there is.
And so I reworked them and I rearranged them and I rewrote lyrics and I rewrote melodies and, I rewrote chord progressions and all this kind of thing and instrumentation to try and make these ideas work. And it was just this kind of constant struggle, and I was never happy with it. And eventually, after about a month, I came to the realization that what I was actually working with was probably a turd in the first place.
What's that? Oh.
Now, if I'd had someone right back at the beginning of that month to actually tell me that, I would have saved myself a whole bunch of just kind of, anxiety and stress and just kind of feeling rubbish about this song, which I could have just put aside and worked on something which was a good idea. So don't feel like you need to do this thing in isolation. There are people out there who will be willing to listen to your songs. And just find some who you think you're going to be honest and show them to them, and then don't take it personally when they tell you that this one sucks. That's part of the filtering process. Take that advice, be like, yep, I think I agree. Let's move on. And that's going to help you actually move forward in this process. And it's going to prevent you from releasing turds into the world. My third piece of advice to myself is just to actually make music that you would enjoy listening to yourself. And I think that's important, not in a kind of, not doing that in a really self-absorbed kind of way in that, I know what's best or anything like that. But it's just that, the kind of music that you listen to. And so often I think that what we're trying to do is produce something which is marketable, or produce something which, is going to be accessible by people from vastly different genres of musical tastes. And that's just never going to work. I mean, there are plenty of people out there who are going to think that your music sucks and just don't gel with that kind of music. And that's fine. Everyone's different. But I assure you that there are also people out there who will like the same kind of music that you like to listen to. I mean, you're not one person out of 7 billion on this planet who likes the style of music you listen to. Unfortunately, you're not that individual. So make the kind of music that you like and stop trying to, I guess I'm saying stop trying to sell out and create music that's you think's going to market well, and actually make music that you would enjoy listening to. And in doing that, I think what you're going to do is find the process more enjoyable, because you're actually creating music that you like to listen to. And because of that enjoyment you've brought to the process, then you're actually going to like the product that you have at the end as well. It's okay that you will want to listen to your music. I mean, that would be the goal, right? Is that you'd actually produce music that you would enjoy listening to yourself. And that's going to make everything better for you and for the people listening to your music as well. So yeah, there you have it. There are 3 pieces of advice that I would give myself. Knowing myself and the kind of person I am, I have these massive kind of ups and downs of kind of feeling really good and then really crap and really inspired and then really uninspired. And so hopefully these pieces of advice will actually help me personally to keep myself centered and keep myself focused and on task, and continuing to work through the process of making this music and keeping this project on track. If you relate or resonate with any of those, cool, that's awesome. Hopefully that's helpful. If you disagree with some of them, then I'd love to hear that as well. If you have any other tips that you feel like would be useful for people going through this process, creating music and, writing music and trying to do this kind of recording thing from home, let us know what you think and what your thoughts are. But for today, that's about it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
I was alive at your heels. I was the air that strove to breathe.
Alright.